thoughts and insights around
Yeah, of course.
what
How have
needs to
you
be
been?
done to.
How have you been? How's the family?
All well, ma'am, all well.
Okay,
Everyone is fine. Everyone is fine. Yeah.
good.
Yeah, live.
Okay, so we are live. Namaste, Monica ma'am, and welcome to the learning experience conversations that we have every Friday with education change champions and educators, principals, teachers, education reformers like you. This is hosted by our co-founder, Itu with Chopra. I'm just here to welcome you and then join you towards the end to provoke some thought-provoking insights about what needs to be done to improve the education methodology and and other things in education. Itu will be having the conversation with you for the first 45 minutes or so. We're very glad to have you with us and be a part of this because we started this during the lockdown to basically profile our educators and our education change champion award recipients from last year. And now, of course, we are very glad that we've got very affirmative and positive feedback about the awards, and we are planning to scale that up now because the idea is to kind of truly choose and pick the right educators who are really kind of driving reforms in education and making education better, making education more about learning rather than just about rote studying and getting high percentages. So with that, I'll hand over to Itu, and all the best for the conversation.
Thank
I'll
you.
join you later.
It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Namaste once again, Monica ji, and
Nam-
a very warm welcome to you. So, as Jerry was saying, on Fridays, the conversation that we have on Fridays with our education leaders, with our school principals, and the people who've been in our fold, and people who've been doing some stellar work as reformers, awakeners, and teachers. We have them with us so that we can bring out more learning and share that learning with more and more people. So welcome to the learning experience, and I'm not going to delve too much into the greetings and nitty-gritties of all of that because our conversation is going to be cool, candid, casual, yet very crucial, and that's going to bring out so much about you and the learning that you are carrying forward in the school as a school leader. But before I begin into all of that, I'd like you to share with us something about your childhood, about your growing up years, about your school, about your college, and was there a teacher who left an indelible mark on you? And share all of those insights and thoughts and memories with us.
Yeah, I think I never really, as a child, I remember being, playing a lot of teacher, like all children do. And we used to mimic our teachers a lot. I was in those series of Sacred Heart Convent schools across Punjab, and
Right.
a very strict upbringing with nuns, and the entire hymns we needed to recite in the morning. It was a very different ball game from the kind of schools that I have been part of in the recent past, as an educator. So didn't really think of teaching, but I think there were a few roles that all children play. They play teacher a lot. So amongst cousins, I used to end up being the teacher. So
Okay.
perhaps in my subconscious somewhere it was there. And for a long time, I was not working. After I got married, came to Delhi,
Hmm.
I brought up two children, and there was a kind of emptiness that, I felt like doing something, but didn't know what, and didn't want to um, leave my children, didn't want to ignore them. So when my son, the younger child, went to
Hmm.
school, I also went to the same school and asked them, can I just come and tell stories? Yeah, this was Springdale's, and
Hmm.
in 1995. So I said, and my son Ujjwal was about 3.5. He just started nursery. I said, I would love to come with him and go back with him because he used to go back at 12. And they said, well, children go back at 12, but teachers stay till the whole day. So, but they looked at my CV and said, Mrs. Bose said, we need an economics teacher.
Hmm.
I left economics about 10 years ago, after doing my master's.
Hmm.
And she said, I don't think one loses touch with one's domain. I'm sure you'll get back to it.
Hmm.
We really desperately need a person. And I'd never thought of going as into organized teaching. I had just thought I'll go do some storytelling, come back, maybe be in a play group. So she says, no, we need, like, you're a master's and you're a gold medalist and this, that, and the other. So you should, okay, try it out for a month. We'll give you a contract and then you see where we go from there. I said, okay. I mean, it was exciting to do something new. And there I was. And as soon as I entered the class and I started, I remember those days, spring days used to start at 7:30. So I would wake up at 5, prepare a lesson because with two small children. And during the day, it was really difficult. And prepare my lessons, see what I had to do, and go to school, take my classes. Like suddenly I felt I belonged. That emptiness just went away. Like said, no, I mean, I need to be here. It was exciting. It was exciting to be amongst young students, to be able to shape, their experiences, their memories, and just teach them and mentor them. So that's how it all started.
Yeah. So, but what about yours growing up? Your school, your college times. How was that? Tell me a little more about your childhood.
I was a very absent-minded kid, with my
Hmm.
nose buried in Enid Blyton's when I was a kid, and then
Hmm.
later on, I think Ayn Rand. When I was 15, my friend introduced me to Ayn Rand, and I just loved her. I mean, she really speaks to the independent streak in you, and
Hmm.
from there, read a lot of Richard Bach, read Agatha Christie. So I was an avid reader. Like I used to get scolded by my mom because my nose was buried in books, and I would be at the dining table, and she said, "No books at the table." Uh,
Yeah.
but like I would sneak the books in while she wasn't looking, but I would always get caught. And call me a bookworm all the time. So,
Hmm.
and that's how I was. I was very tomboyish, you know,
Hmm.
happy to have large gardens. So I would climb the guava tree sometimes just so that my mom wouldn't catch me. I would take my book and just go there and read. So it used to be like a fun time because
Yeah.
my two brothers were in hostels. One was in Lawrence School Sanar, the other one was in Bishop Cotton. And when I was reading Mallory Towers or St. Clair's, I was dying to go there.
Yeah.
But I think they were put into those schools because at that point of time, I grew up in Ludhiana. So there
Hmm.
was a good school around. But
Hmm.
by the time I was about 3, the Sacred Heart Convent chain
Hmm.
had opened. And
Hmm.
so my dad and mom, they said no, like, so my sister and I studied. We didn't go to any of the residential schools. I would have loved to go there.
Yeah. Some people either love residential schools, boarding schools, or they don't love it at all. Um, my last teaching assignment was Sacred Heart Chandigarh.
Oh, great.
Yes. Yeah,
You know what
2008.
Sacred Hearts are like.
Yeah. So yes, I know what are you talking about. What are you talking about? The strictness and the nuns. And I loved my theatrics in the classroom, as I said. But outside the classroom, I was like, what can I do to change things? And that's probably took me to my next journey. And I remember you were talking about playing teacher. I
Yeah.
would take the teacher to a step forward. I would always wear a sari and play teacher.
Yeah, and have a ruler in your hand. And then
Yeah,
what had those wooden rulers,
yeah.
those
And
scales.
the almirah in my room would be the blackboard.
Okay.
The Godrej steel almirah was green in color. I remember that. And I would write on it. And before anybody would knock the door, one had to, get into a proper gear and rub the blackboard. But yes, I remember all those things. And so would you say that you love teaching? As a kid, you knew that. But would you still say, are you an accidental teacher, or was it a passion that really came into being your profession?
I think it was an undiscovered passion, because when I did get a step into the class and I started, economics is my subject. Otherwise,
Hmm.
so I did my master's in economics, and so when I started teaching it, I realized that I'd been missing. This is what I'd been missing, because I've
Hmm.
always been a very academic person. So I loved teaching. I loved making it easy for my students. And while it did come about accidentally, but I think I was in the right place at the right time, or maybe the universe was conspiring for me to be there at that point of time and go and ask for some engagement, and
Hmm.
they needed someone. So that's what destiny is all about.
Yeah, yeah. So they say, but they also say that, you find your purpose in you discover your purpose on the way, if you're open to discovering it. And that's how the purpose of life, I think each one of us has discovered our purpose of life uh, by fluke, but it was meant to be because you were walking on that path what you loved, and you discover it. And the issue is, when you discover it, you've got to tend to it. You've got to, really tend to it like a garden, and
Yes,
then let it
absolutely.
bloom and shine. So how important do you think it is for, children now to really know their passion? Like, what is it that my heart beats for? What is it that makes me come alive? And how easy it is and how difficult it is as a school leader for you. Uh, because, sometimes you've got to make that kind of environment to be able to, nurture it. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the Shivnata school is
Mm-hmm.
all about finding your aha, finding your,
Mm-hmm.
and we design and curate a lot of activities. Even the mission and the vision of the school says that we will strive to create an environment which will identify the talents and capabilities of the children. So it say we will teach them. It says we will create an environment in which their talents and capabilities would be discovered and nurtured. And
Mm-hmm.
it goes on to say that, of course, they'll be responsible and contributing citizens of the world. And so our AHA program has been designed just for that. It starts from grade one, and
Mm-hmm.
the children, in grade one and two, in rotation, they, go into music, art, dance, theater, baskets, and in sports also. All the sports they go through every 4 or 5 weeks. They do different sports, fitness, and one and two they go according to their houses, so that
Mm-hmm.
they're exposed to that. In grade three, they make a choice, and parents, it's not your choice, it's your child's choice. And so they give their first choice, second choice, like that. And then they pursue that for almost 4 times a week. They are going for music, if they've chosen music, and art, if they've chosen art, and that's their aha. And they could be, choosing, let's say, theater and badminton, so that they would pursue that the whole year. And with that discovery of passion, we also tell the children, because many times, because in grade one and two, they're going there for about 4 5 weeks. And three, they say, okay, now we want to change. And we tell them, in the beginning, they're told that with great, with choice comes responsibility. So you
True.
stick to that choice for the whole year and
Mm.
really, dive deep into it, because that is where you might find your flow. And you need to have that responsibility and grit to stay with your choice, because that's also another learning for children.
True.
Because
True.
if you see, children have very short attention spans, and they flit from passion to passion or activity to activity very quickly.
That
So
holds true for us as well as adults.
absolutely, absolutely. But now this, the distractions are a lot more.
Yeah,
With,
true.
I think the digital distractions are a lot more, and so which is why the attention span is getting shorter and shorter. Because
Mm.
just talking to my team the other day that, when I was growing up, I
Mm.
remember every clip in a film used to last at least 3 to 5 minutes.
Mm.
Now if you see the the children's films or any programs they're watching, the clips change within a few seconds. So it's like a vicious cycle. It's because of this that their attention span is getting shorter, and also because their attention span is shorter, so the clips are they, the movie makers, they change them. So
3 seconds, they say.
absolutely, they said
Three
3 seconds
seconds. Yeah,
maximum they can concentrate.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So,
all about.
yeah, yeah. Monica, you said a very wonderful thing, and with choices come responsibilities. And with that responsibility, you have to hold on to it with grit and resilience.
Absolutely.
And that you have to go through the mill and the drill and the grill, or whatever you want to do it to finesse, to
Mm.
some kind of a finesse. But tell me how easy or difficult it is for you as a school leader when parents may also be interfering. Parents do interfere. And we at Rex Karamveer say that, there's this holy trinity:
Yes.
school, teachers, and the parents. So this holy trinity has to work in tandem. That then only the child gets what it gets. Of course, there are a whole lot of debates around how much the school is responsible and how much the parents are, but and how much the teachers are. But tell me, have you ever come across this whole issue that parents do interfere into, I know my child better, he takes this. And when he takes it, why aren't you helping him to do it? And the school is responsible. Things like that. Tell us about it, because that's a learning, and one is trying to find a way with through this.
You're very right, Itu. When you say it's the Holy Trinity, yes, it's a three-way handshake,
Absolutely.
between the parent and the child and the school. So we have to work in tandem, we have to work in collaboration. However, in my experience, I've seen in the beginning when we did start Shivnada School, I think
Mm,
a lot of people wanted to, talk about different ways and wanted to tell us how to do things. But we stuck to our guns and we said, we are the educators. We know what is good for your child.
mm,
Just trust us.
mm,
Beginning, yes, the first 2 or 3 years, I had to do a lot of talking, a lot of coaching and mentoring, even to the parents, because we
right.
did a lot of different things. We did
Mm,
which was very different, you know.
mm,
We did what do you call it, Jodo Gyan, which is the math mastery program, which
mm.
is very different from the regular math that we do because
Okay.
we believed in it. We felt math has always been a language and not a numbers game.
Right.
And so when you talk of math as a language, we start with word problems right from nursery. Like
Mm,
place those problems in front of children. And that's
mm,
what the math mastery program that we have at Shivnadar is all about. Children are then thinking critically and giving you answers. And
mm.
and many answers are different. It's not one answer is right. It'll be
True.
something like in nursery, a problem will be given to them, a small problem like, okay, this doll is coming to visit us today, and we need to gift, it's her birthday, and we need
Mm,
to gift her a necklace. And
mm,
you different beads on your table, different number of beads. And as a table of 5 students, tell us how many beads would you make, put in the necklace and give her and give your reasons. So it's a small problem, but
mm.
they're doing counting, and some
Yeah.
of them do 5, some of them only put 1, some of them put 7, and you
Mm,
ask why did you put 7. So their reasons could be, I like the number 7, or
mm,
us wanted 7, or there were only 7 beads on the table, so we put all of them. And which, okay, I mean, and and it gives children confidence that
true.
no answer is wrong.
Yeah.
And gradually they're moving into KG. So we did a lot of this experimentation. In the beginning, parents would say, "Arey, my friends' children who are in the other school, they can count backwards, 100 to 1, 1 to 100." And we would keep telling them, this is rote learning. They
Yeah.
don't know what the numbers are. They don't visualize them. We are making them visualize numbers. We are giving
Mm,
problems to solve. And
mm.
I think parents have embraced it because they trust the school. You know, I think the sowing of the seed in the beginning and a lot of dialogue and conversation, we would always call in parents to have a dialogue, to talk to them, to convince them that this is the right way to go. And we are seeing the fruits of our labor now in the middle school, in the upper primary, the children are always, they don't hesitate about asking questions,
Right.
and they really, they think critically.
You know, I think also one takes out phobia out of it. And when children are so young and you're asking them to hold the pencil and write, and I remember when I was doing my Montessori thing, because I have taught students from 3 to 50. And when I was, the exercise that we were given was write with your left hand as adults. And we were told to write with our left hand for one day, like few hours. And each one of us was holding our fingers, and it's hurting, it's hurting, it's hurting. And we were told that when a child goes out of the box or
Yeah.
out of the line or writes the way they write, just remember it hurts. They're developing their motor skills, and it's new for them. And you are whatever age and you're told to write, look at your own self. So that kind of a thing has to come from the teachers, from the school, from the parents. Also, you spoke about the comparison that parents draw, uh,
Yeah.
which is not a great thing, but we still tend to do. We are so ingrained, or we're so used to doing that, and we feel probably the child is lagging behind. And also taking away the fear from numbers and making it into a fun activity. I really like it. I wish I had known this when I was doing maths, because
I wish the
it's
same.
a
I
lot of
wish the
people
same.
are.
I struggled with my daughter. I think when that time I was not teaching, and when I started teaching her math, she was very quick with it. So I did not really need to work very hard. Math came
Hmm,
easily to her. With my
hmm,
son, he thought differently. And
hmm,
if he had done this kind of a program, he would have loved it. He started loving math only in grade 11. Before that, he always struggled with it. And I was just kicking myself that if I had known, I would have taught him differently. I used to get so impatient with him as a mother, as a parent. And it's such a beautiful program. And if you ask any of the Shivnara students, because we have the Jodogyan program from nursery to grade 5, and then we have the transition between 5 and 6. If you ask them, which is your favorite subject, they say math. That's what the beauty of the whole thing is, because we are trying to teach them the way they learn. We're
yeah,
not teaching them the way we learned.
we want. Yeah, it should be child centric.
Absolutely.
Absolutely child centric. And uh, that's how it is. That's how uh, and also time and again, research has proven, and we as teachers and parents know, that it's not the subject that is difficult or easy. It's how you approach the subject, who is teaching, how is teaching,
So
how the
true.
subject is taken as a thing to learn. And you can do wonders with the same thing if the teacher on the other side is with the students and doing it from their level, and reinventing and creating it into a really beautiful thing. The learning is absolutely different.
You see the difference there between
Mm,
teachers who teach primary and teachers who teach senior secondary. When you
mm,
ask teachers in the senior secondary, what do you teach? They'll say, I teach math, I teach physics, I teach economics, or whatever. And when you ask teachers in primary, what do you teach? They say, we teach children.
yeah,
That's where the difference lies.
yeah. And I think that should be always the thing.
It should
You've
be
got to.
across, yes.
And I would phrase it differently, that I learn with the children, because even in senior school, when you're sitting down, even in small children, you learn so much from there. And there's a little anecdote that we shared. We have a school teachers group of the Rex, and it's something that a child was driven, went to a birthday party, and when the mother goes to pick up the child, the birthday child mother says, your child said to me trillion times how wonderful was the cake. And she just looked at him and she like smiling. And when the child comes home, the child tells the mother that, I said that because one child very loudly said the cake is so bad. And when I saw the other mother, her face fall down, and I wanted to make her feel better.
That's so
So
sweet.
sometimes children can do so much for grown-ups. And I think they are the ones who all the time do so much for grown-ups. There's so much to learn. I think this is something that we never should forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
So, that I'd like you to take me more through the journey of Shiv Nadar School and all the wonderful programs that you're doing, a different approach to learning.
So I've already told you about the AHA program, and I've
Right.
told you about our math mastery program. And we use a PBL kind of an approach, a project-based learning approach in primary and middle school.
Hmm.
And we've got a very amalgamated curriculum, which is homegrown. Like,
Hmm.
we've given bits and pieces of the different curriculums which are available, the PY
Hmm.
or the IGCSE and the CBSE, and we've blended it together.
Hmm.
Pedagogy is
Hmm.
very different. So it is extremely child centric. Even in the middle, we are doing an amalgamation. We are trying to, use content from different books. We
Hmm.
do describe NCRT, but we, take reference books from different, you can say, international curriculums.
Hmm.
So, because the CBSE is very stringent about the books, definitely, and 9 to 12, it's a very structured program.
Yes, it is.
Schools like Vasant Valley, like Shivnadar, all the CBSE progressive schools, they have their own adapted curriculum till grade 8, because you
Hmm.
want to raise the bar. You want the children to do a lot more than just what the textbook talks about. So
Right, right.
it's extremely experiential.
Hmm.
Our OLEs are compulsory right from grade 4 onwards. Like grade 4 might just be an overnight trip, grade 5 might be a 2 nights trip, and so on. So they do go for adventure trips, and we make sure that every OLE they're doing some kind of community outreach, even if
Hmm.
they would be just talking to the camel herders and seeing how they're doing. I remember one of the groups had gone to a grade 9 group, and they were carrying some money. They were, of course, out in the desert, and they were in tent, and they'd carried some money to spend, and they were not really going to the market. They were talking to these herders, and they were asking them about their lifestyle, and they were saying that we are all vegetarian, but because vegetables are very expensive in that part, and they don't
Hmm.
grow very easily, they've had to be get non-vegetarian because camel meat is easier and it's cheaper. And the children felt so bad. They said, and those people earned about 3,000 rupees a month,
Hmm.
and children had taken around that much money. Many of them just emptied their pockets, and they started giving that money to them. And the teacher said, listen, fine, you're feeling bad, but this is not going to help them. Let's see how we can. So they came back, they spoke to the rest of the school, and so this is the way we also started AYP, the International Award for Young People, which many students do. It has the Duke of Edinburgh Award. You can do a bronze, a silver, and a gold, but that starts only when you're in grade 9 after you're 13. So that's one
Hmm.
program we are very passionate about. Many, I think 75% of our children take that. For the first 2 batches, we'd made it compulsory
Hmm.
because it has a service component, it has an adventure component, and you have to be skilled in some art and sports. So there are these 4 components. Another program that we do in grade 9 and 10, because our IT curriculum is our homegrown one again.
Hmm.
It's we use IT as work the
Hmm.
kind of work we get the children to do. So they are from grade 4, like 3 onwards, they start, and they're learning Scratch, which is the
Hmm.
basic coding program. Then they have something called Google SketchUp in grade 5 or 4. And then they move on to HTML programming in 9 and 10. Again, then they have a choice in 9. After going through all the programs from grade 5 to 8, they make a choice which basket of IT do you want to take up. Those children who are really good in drawing, or they want to see visuals, they pursue graphics. And those children who are very good with animation, we make them do a Maya, for animation. They pursue that for 2 years. And those children who are good with coding, they do the coding or the robotics program. And there are those children also who love music. So we've got a beautiful sound production room where they do sound production. They can record their music, they can create music, they can work on the mixer, and they do a different kind of coding. So while all of them have a very different kind of coding, but each one does according to their capabilities and their choice. And in 10, they put together something called a capstone project, which the
mm,
working group, they identify a problem in the community and they go to solve it. So there was one, the first batch, they created a scooty for the handicapped.
mm,
They went around interviewing the handicapped people on wheelchairs. They said, we want to be independent. Like, while the wheelchair does make us independent, but when we have to move into a two-wheeler or a car, people pick us up and they put us there because we
mm,
have, if they're rich enough, of course, they've got cars with ramps, but they're not
mm,
easily accessible.
mm,
So children got that idea, and after interviewing, many of the people who were handicapped, they created a scooty with a ramp. The front went down as a ramp. They could wheel themselves up and pull it and drive. It would get, clamped on to the scooty. It was a very, I would say, basic, rough kind of prototype, but it got them thinking. It got them thinking on, solving a problem.
right.
Another group did smart traffic light systems. So
Mm,
they used, normally the traffic, they realized that the traffic lights are manually, done in the reds and the greens go manually, or they're timed, that after so many minutes, depending on the, the congestion on the roads, they're
mm,
timed according to that at different times. So they wanted to make it smart, and they, of course, smart traffic lights exist in the world, but what they did was they made it much cheaper than what was available. They used something called these Raspberry Pi programming system, and they use sensor cameras where the number of pixels, if they are more, the traffic in front of that is more, the camera, it would go green, and if there was little traffic, it would remain red. So
mm,
it was a smart traffic light system which sensed. So these
mm,
children, they, we went to the DC, we showed them, and they were really happy with it. And so they helped them put it at one of the crossings to check it out. His children were really happy that they're able to do that. And so they've been doing these kind of community problem solving skills that they do. Again, a choice in grade 9 on which IT they do. It's not that everyone does programming.
yeah, yeah. So that was the basis of our Rex Karamveer Global Education Change Champion Fellowship. We reached out to a lot of schools across the country, and we shortlisted about 100 of them, out of which about 70 came to the Rex Karamveer Global Education Change Champion Fellowship, where we're talking about the fact that in the school, is the school bringing about life skills? Is it bringing about giving back to the society? Are the children actually bridging gaps through volunteering or doing some community outreach program? And we were very beautifully pleasantly surprised that there were hordes and hordes of schools that were doing such beautiful innovative programs. Because I think at the end of the day, and we at Rex Karam, we think that at the end of the day, it's more important to teach children life skills as well. Is very, very important, because beyond the school walls, life is unpredictable, it's challenging, and it's full of challenges. And if we haven't prepared children for the challenges, then we haven't done our job. And if we haven't prepared children to give back to the universe, to give back to the society, then we are doing a big, big disfavor. So I'm really happy to know, the kind of programs that you're doing, and children are doing really well. And we hope to see you in our fold in the next awards and fellowship. We also soft launched a program during that time where we are talking about that how do you need to build in an absolutely resilient character in the children so they are ready for life outside, because life is again unpredictable and you have to have that resilience and the grit to innovate, create, recreate yourself. Because see what happened in these 9 months.
True.
We all had to, catapult ourselves and say, yeah, we're going to do it. We have to do it. And that's the way it's going to be. That's the way life is. So why not prepare students with that robust program that we have created? And the program is very, very beautiful, where we're talking about the principles and the values that unleash the heroic potential within every child, because every child has it. Talents can be built,
True.
talents can be taken in. We can learn anything if we have the tenacity of the character. So character is very, very important. That's what takes you forward.
I think Carol Dweck has talked about the growth mindset, and
Yes,
it's all about building grit and resilience through, learning from your failures and not being despondent or thinking that I can't do it. Like, I think the old saying of if at first you don't succeed, try, try, try again.
yeah,
Um, it is true even today, and it will remain true forever.
yeah. So there, you say failure, and we call it vulnerability. When you're vulnerable, when you're, you know, vulnerability is the trigger. It's the striker which strikes, and it can unleash your um, mindset. We're talking about three mindset. We're talking about seven virtues, and we're talking about 21 powers, and we're talking it that it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process, and it keeps happening, and it is to developed. And but on that note, I want to take a cue from what you said about coding. And I want your views on the fact that, we hear about white hair and Byju's and, oh, we're going to make your child a coder in 2 weeks. And the child can earn, I don't know what amount they write. It's a amount that, the parents will think, oh my God. So what is your take on that? Isn't it playing with the minds of the children and parents, and it's farce, it's fake.
Absolutely, I agree with you. You do, because
And so how, as an education leader, how are you dealing with it? Because I'm sure the parents have this aspiration, a new aspiration, which is absolutely foolhardy.
I think it is this aspiration that these companies are
Hmm,
taking advantage of, because
hmm,
um, in spite of the 21st century being a century of collaboration, the
hmm,
20th century skills talk about creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. Um, the parents' mindset who've grown in the previous century, I would say, or in the previous decades, are still competitive because they were part of a very competitive school setup. And it will
hmm,
take some time for them to unlearn that and relearn collaboration. And their workplaces are also demanding more collaboration than competition.
hmm,
However, I think that's a vulnerability that the parents do have, and these companies are taking advantage of it.
hmm,
Why at the Shivnada school from ninth, we give the children a choice. We give them a basic programming kind of a curriculum in grade 7 and 8, a very basic
hmm,
one. And
hmm.
in 9, if they want to go further and learn Python, they can make a choice. Every child is not a coder. You know,
Absolutely.
you have to talk about those who are able to think in a linear way, a stepwise way, and
Hmm,
look at a disruption. So some children are very good at it, and some would be musicians, some would be artists, some would be animation experts. They're not all coders, but which is why we have a choice in grade 9. That I feel is a very robust program, because
hmm,
everyone is not doing computer programming like
hmm,
the previous curriculums that were there for
hmm,
that everyone who takes up IT has to do programming. It's not like that. So we
hmm.
use IT as a work experience depending on the capabilities and the strength of the child and the interests.
So the, the balance, the holistic balance between things, and that has to be incorporated in the mindset of the parents more than the children. What do you think?
I agree. I think the change is happening because parents are also getting a lot of exposure of international practices, especially I would say in Delhi NCR. A lot of parents also are in companies where they are traveling a lot. They are being stationed in one country or the other, and their children have exposure to different kind of school systems. So many of them, especially those kind of parents, are quite open to change because they know, and they will not want a prescriptive kind of a curriculum for their children. They would
Mhm,
want a certain structure, yes, but they would also
mhm,
want a certain choice. For example, the international curriculum, I would say IGCSE, gives a choice in grade 9, for some.
mhm.
Our new education policy is also trying to bring in, that same flexibility and choice in the system. And I think the future looks very bright because we are getting rid of a rigid structured system, and we are moving towards a very flexible, a very robust, a very internationally minded system, right?
I'm losing you in between.
Yeah, your screen has frozen. Yeah, now it's back. Yeah. Can you see? Can you hear me?
Now I
Can
can
you?
hear you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For a minute, I think your screen froze. Maybe something with the connectivity. Yeah.
Monica ji, tell me, what do you make of the new education policy, the NEP, and what's your take on it?
I think the draft seems to be very exciting. The
Mm,
draft policy is definitely very exciting. It's bringing in a lot of things which
mm,
are very new age, which render a lot of flexibility to the system. Um,
mm.
the moot point would it be implemented properly? you know
Right,
CCE pattern, which the previous policy had brought in,
right.
it's a beautiful system because
Mm,
it tracked the child on a lot of parameters. However, when schools implemented it, I don't think all of them implemented it in the spirit it was supposed to be,
yeah,
because it was taking the focus away from exam marks and looking at the child on various parameters of value of extracurricular activities, and the whole child. It was trying to educate the whole child, but it
yeah,
wasn't implemented really well by many schools. Some of them were doing a fabulous job, but all of them were not. With the new policy, yes, the draft is extremely good, and it is also benchmarking itself with international standards. I think
right.
that is where the Indian education system would come
Mm,
of age, because of that kind of amalgamation between giving them roots in the Indian system and the Indian values, and giving
mm.
them wings which the international system can give. So I think it would be a good marriage between the two.
I hope it is implemented well because, as we say, our laws are beautiful. Everything in our constitution is very beautiful.
Yeah,
But
true.
when it comes to implementation of the laws, even the way you need to drive on the road, the way you need to follow the traffic rules, everything is in place, but it's the implementation, it's also the way we look at things. I hope it is done well because in its entirety, in its great spirit that it is, I hope it is done that way. Monica ji, I'm wanting to, ask you and wanting you to share with us that, in this pandemic, in these 9 months, which have been very, very different for all of us, and, the schools, the teachers, the parents, the children have been struggling in a lot of ways. And another pandemic which was looming very, very large on our heads was the mental health pandemic. That's also come out in these times. So tell me, what's your take as a school leader on addressing this bigger pandemic?
Yeah. You're so right in saying that that is the bigger pandemic because,
Yeah.
children, they lay a lot of store in their peers, in learning from peers, in being with friends. And when we have a program at our school which is supposed to be experiential and collaborative, initially the children did not want to just look at a screen and see these little postage stamp sized friends. They wanted to be with their friends, and it was difficult, but slowly, with a lot of circle time activities, I would say from nursery till grade 12, we tried to deal with it. I have four counselors in the school for different cohorts, and
Mm,
they have never been busier because parents were writing to them to have a session with their child and with themselves. And
mm,
we had coffee mornings with parents who were coming
mm,
in, and they got a lot of support from each other. So these
mm,
coffee morning sessions were happening as groups of different, grade parents. For the early years, there was a different group. Then it was for twos and threes, perhaps fours and fives, because each age group has been showing different problems and
right.
different challenges. We also got Dr. Shelja Sen to come and talk about parenting during COVID. We
Great.
also called, someone from Rujita Divekar's team to come and talk about healthy eating because
Mm,
children are feeling frustrated and
mm,
parents are sharing that they feel frustrated, so they want to eat junk food. They're not doing any kind of you know what do you call
physical activity.
physical activity, and
Mm,
they were having a struggle with all of that.
right.
uh, yes, there have been children we've been reaching out, and this phase has been the most collaborative with the parents because they are seeing their children struggling. They are seeing, in the beginning, they also saw teachers struggling.
Absolutely.
We held each other's hands, so we reached out to each other. At one point of time, I remember in the beginning when we started the school, parents wanted cameras inside the classroom, and I said, no, I'm not big brother. We want, I trust my team, I trust my staff. I do not want to put any camera there. But today there's a camera in every house of the teachers, in every
The
house of,
school has reached the home.
yes. Absolutely. And the only way we could do this well was through a mutual trust and collaboration. And yes, I'm not saying this is over because there are
Mm,
some children who are resilient. When they're in hot water, it is said, don't be like eggs and become hard boiled.
uh,
Don't be like potatoes and become mushy, but be like coffee or tea and give your own flavor and aroma to the hot water and change.
brew yourself.
Yes, brew. And so I think that is the message that we give the children also. And a lot more dialogue, a lot more circle time, a lot more coffee mornings. And sometimes the teachers are just coming into class and just chatting with the children, allowing them free time to just chat, just talk. In fact, today we uploaded the Children's Day videos for children, and uh, the staff has really pulled out all the stops. They've allowed the children to see them in avatars, which they never do. They're
Yeah.
dancing to all kind of numbers. They're making fools of themselves just to get the children laughing.
Yeah.
They're showing their energy, their zest. They're singing, they are talking, they're doing a skit,
Mm,
and they're giving the messages. And I think they were so excited. It's a 1 hour program because
mm.
children did a very good job on Teachers' Day. So we said we owe it to them. We need to do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope, and I hope, which is, I really, really hope that, each one of us is able to look at this time, which will go by in history as a troubled time, but I hope something beautiful is brewed out of it, as you said. And on this note, I'd like to invite Jerry back into the conversation to, uh, you know, bring out more insights from the conversation that you and I have had. So, welcome back, Jerry.
Hi. Namaste once again. Nishant, you'll also have to give me hosting rights, yeah?
Yes.
So, ma'am, lovely listening to you and lovely to note and learn from all the work that you're doing at the Shivnadar schools. I think I first met you in 2014 when I was invited to be a part of your Lit Fest. And then I
Yes.
met you along with my associates Digraj and Varun to discuss what we are planning to do through what we were calling at that time as the international volunteering Olympiad,
Yes.
because we were still researching it at that time, and research shows that volunteering is the best form of life leadership and learning lessons, because you learn to learn as you volunteer. You learn how to lead yourself, and you also learn about life because you see so many
I
things in
remember,
the per.
I remember, Jerry, that time, I think 2014, the school had just been 2 years old. And
Yeah.
our senior most batch of about, I think, 20 odd children were in grade
Mm.
at that point of time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd spoken to the older children, and spoken to them about what we are planning to do
yeah.
to make people aware of their fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and the UN sustainable goals.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was still no talk about, you know, character rooted education to be imparted in schools. And now in the past 2 years, after Delhi government has done it, suddenly everybody is talking about it. So one is, we are happy that we were ahead of the curve in terms of thinking about it, because in 2014 we started talking to the schools, but we started planning around 2011. And it's almost been 10 years and we've not yet launched it in schools, because um, what we've seen is that in a lot of schools where they're doing value based education, it's being imparted by uh, what should I say, half baked coaches and mentors who don't really understand the depth of how values and principles work, right? Because it's all related to neuroscience. And we've actually created an entire book on this now. And we've created an entire learning framework, which we are planning to roll out in schools this year. But again, because of the pandemic, we had to defer it. But it's taken us that kind of time because, constantly our communication as a team has been that we should not go to schools till we have a a process, a learning process, which is at least closest to the best, because we don't think we'll ever be the best. But the point is, it'll keep evolving and improving. And on the drawing board for the past 5 years, we've been evolving, and we now have a live book in place. We have a live play work journal in place, and it's ready to be rolled out. But that said, there are suddenly a lot of schools, including government schools, who are suddenly doing this happiness curriculum, right? Without really understanding that happiness cannot be taught by teaching them about how to make money or how to get overnight success. And then you will see there are so many online courses,
Yeah.
right from Byju's to White Hat, which is acquired by Byju's. And parents fall for this because parents are used now to air conditioned reception offices without really looking into the pedagogy and the andragogy and what is the education methodology which the school or the app is offering.
Absolutely. I think
And one of the
Harvard has done this happiness project, which talks about, we've been talking to the children, especially during the lockdown, about the dose of happiness. And I'm using dose as an acronym. So the dose of happiness, according to the Harvard
right,
findings that had come up, was the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. That how these four things are really needed to make you happy. You need to keep getting yourself give
Nishant,
a challenge every day. It could be solving a puzzle. It could be being better at your game. It could
right,
be anything. And
right,
oxytocin is all about relationships and your
right,
family, building relationships, looking after your pet. Serotonin is about good food and building a gut health, and endorphin
right,
is all about exercise. So there is,
right,
all that had come, and we've done a lot of. I was just talking to Itu about the circle time and the coffee sessions that we are trying to do that, yes. But by and large, I think your program would dovetail very well with what we do at the Shivnada School.
No, and I'll show you what we have created. And I remember 2014, and then again 2017 or 18, you called me because you wanted to launch your
Yes.
value based, and then those
The
people who are
Education
doing
for
it,
Life program, the
yeah,
Education for
and
Life.
they reached out to me to say that
Yes. And
can
you
you
did a
can
brilliant job that time. Yes.
yeah. So we launched it because I think Colonel Gopal Karunakaran couldn't be there at that time.
Yeah.
And then there's two people who I forget their names now, but they were from INME. They had worked with INME earlier.
Hmm.
And one of the things I've realized, when you're talking about Harvard, the study was done by Tal Ben Sher,
Yeah.
and Tal Ben had not really gone into the depth because he spoke about dose, but there is much more than just
Yeah.
dose. It is also the so we've actually recreated that as the dosage of happiness. And what we have
Wonderful.
done in the Mojosh Inspirator learning is we have taken uh, learning from 10,000-year-old sciences like Enneagram, which teaches you that when you practice the virtues, you keep getting better and unleashing your potential.
Mm.
And neuroscience has now proved it, that when you practice the values in alignment with the ethics, what is called as principles, then the brain rewires to unleash your potential. For example, the attitude of gratitude, as it is called. Now, a lot of people who teach value just teach it about being thankful and feeling blessed. That's all bunkum. It's about truly heartfully feeling blessed for whatever you have, rather than feeling that I don't have this, I don't have that, right? The very fact that you've woken up today morning, you should be grateful that you have a new life.
I totally
So
agree with
we've
you.
gone to that depth, and I want to show you the slides. I'm just waiting for the hosting rights.
Okay.
So that's where we are. So that's the kind of work that we put into it, and now we are kind of ready to roll it out into schools. uh, and and basically, now I think from the time when we were speaking about it, when there was no chatter about this, to now when everybody is talking about it, it's it's
Mm.
it's 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 a good feeling to know that we kind of pioneered the thought process on this. But of course, there are too many fly by night operators out there who are spoiling it, right? Because then there are this off-site adventure courses where they teach you that will build character. And I always use a metaphor for that it's like taking a monkey to a L'Oreal salon, because you can't build character in outdoor activities and games. You have to
You
teach
can't
them the value.
outsource it. You can't
Yeah,
outsource it.
absolutely. Or no, nor can you become a millionaire in 3 months, which a
Yeah.
lot of courses online are teaching now, or become a coder who's going to earn 20 million rupees.
I
So I think
think they
all those
play,
things.
we were talking, Ito was saying that they play on the vulnerability of the parents' aspirations.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it vulnerability. I would call it the greed of the parents' aspirations. Because vulnerability is a good power to understand, because that hey, we need to go out into this world knowing that everything cannot be planned for my child on a report card and a percentage, right? So no
Mhm.
matter how much you protect your child, and that's why we are in my book Karma Kari, and we are doing the first session with Mom's Presso next week. In my book Karma Kari, this is stories of kids. And I've said over here, because we need to learn from children who are
Mm.
our future, to see,
Yeah.
touch, and change the future for the better. So rather than teaching kids, because how can parents who are not ready and prepared for the future, or teachers who are not ready and prepared for the future, prepare children for the future? I find that to be very condescending and patronizing. So for
Mm.
example, most parents don't even know what lies ahead, right? They are happy in their comfort zones doing their corporate jobs, without realizing that a lot of their jobs will be irrelevant and redundant in the next 10 years. It was said by World Economic Forum and other research think tanks. It's happened faster. Instead of
Mm.
2030, it's happened in 2020. So
Absolutely.
all your graduates with flying colors have no jobs today. There are no career options. So what are their choices? Get depressed, commit suicide, or now they have to recreate themselves. But what have we trained them for? We have trained them to become career mules, which means get a job in the corporate sector and then climb the ladder, start getting big fat pay packets. And most of the parents have reduced education to a career option. That's it. And a life of luxury and a life of comfort. And that's good. But you don't need to prepare anybody for it. But what happens when adversity happens? You're not prepared the child for that. So the child's resilience powers are very weak. right? What
Mm.
happens when hardships happen? What happens if the child really wants to do something maverick and not be run of the mill herd mindset, which is most of the world, right? So we are not preparing children for that. So that's where we put this entire learning program together, and we've actually put something called mills together, which is the Mojo Inspirator Life Leadership and Learning to Learn Success Summit, where we are teaching children through real stories of real people who are ordinary like you and me and everybody, but they have gone for extraordinary. So our mascot mentor, of course, is Dashrath Manji, whose story I never get tired of telling, because if a man can move a mountain, when we are teaching children that faith moves mountains, then if that 5 foot 2 inch man can do it, anyone can. And the other mascot mentor that we have chosen is William Kamkwamba, the boy who harnessed the wind, who didn't really get much of an education in school, but using his innovative ideas and creativity, he created a windmill out of scrap material which he found in the scrapyards. And this is the framework. You probably seen this because I tagged you in the Facebook
Yes.
post when I had first put it up around 2.5 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's 0 plus 3 mindsets, 7 virtues, and 21
Mhm.
powers. And we are calling the values powers because neuroscience has proven this, that if you practice gratitude, contentment, integrity, humility, vulnerability in the right way, then it helps you to unleash your potential and build your powers, because you are blessed with unlimited potential. So don't stifle yourself into just thinking job and a career option. So what we've done is we have over 100 missionary passivepreneurs, we are calling them, because they're not just entrepreneurs. They're people who've done something with their life by choosing to be different and choosing to make those choices to walk the path less trodden. And and this is the happiness. We, like I said, we've taken most of the learning from over 5,000 books, 25,000 research papers. And what we've done is we've simplified the learning. So this is from Talbe and Sheher's learning. And what we have done, we've gone a bit further and gone from away from dose into dosage, right? Which
Nice.
is, there is
I like the
Anandamide, which is,
bliss chemical and the gratitude. The
yeah.
really,
So and we've simplified it. So like you were saying, dopamine is the achievement chemical, which is,
yeah,
all of us get too much of a rush of dopamine every day, which is very unhealthy. So you need to know how to balance it. Oxytocin is the
yeah.
contribution chemical. That's why the joy of giving. Serotonin is
Mm.
the relationship chemical. Anandamide is named after a Sanskrit word, ananda, which means bliss, is the bliss chemical. So if you eat the right foods, which we're talking about nutrition,
Mm.
you eat the right foods, you eat the right chocolates, you eat the right, you exercise right, the same chemical which is there in marijuana is what the body produces automatically. That's called anandamide. And then gratitude, be grateful that you have a good life. Don't always keep whining, I don't have this, I don't have that. Materialistic pursuits do not get you happiness. That's a concept wrongly sold by the United States of America. Pursuit of happiness is complete bunkum nonsense. And then
And
finally,
happiness,
endorphins.
and
Stay
Jerry, I
physically.
think happiness is a choice. You have to make that choice.
Absolutely.
Basis.
Absolutely. And I've been doing corporate trainings now for the past 16, 17 years. And most people in the corporate sector, they have no clue what vulnerability means, right?
Mm.
And they think vulnerability and humility means weakness. And I'm like, therein lies your problem, because you're so used now to playing games and manipulating, you don't even know how mentally and emotionally sick you are. You don't know it, and you don't want to face it. And I've always been saying this, that the biggest epidemic of the world today, is not cancer or HIV or anything else. It's mental illness, and most people refuse to accept that they're mentally ill. And the biggest victims of mental illness in our country are children, because of the kind of pressure that the parents put on them to succeed at any cost. It's crazy. You're sending children to perform in Indian Idol and perform item numbers. What are you doing? you know because we've reduced success to career climbing and fame and fortune, without realizing that success basically is about making positive contributions, creating value, creating a legacy, which we are not teaching our children. So we are doing this first session. In this book we also included lessons for leadership lessons and mentoring lessons, because we have an entire book as a part of the Mojo Inspirator series on mentoring. And I think mentoring is a skill which everyone needs to learn, including parents, because everybody uses this word mentor very loosely. Some even call themselves chief mentors without even
Yeah.
understanding what the art of mentoring is. Forget the science and the craft. So we've got an
Absolutely.
entire book on this, and this is what we've been teaching teachers in schools, the mindset of a teacher, which is summed up in this one line by Socrates: I cannot teach anyone anything. I can only make you think. So if you're not teaching children how to think better and influencing them what to think with your thoughts, then you completely mess them up as a parent, as a teacher, as an educator. And a lot of people don't understand this. But because by making them think like you do, you're making them a slave to other people's thoughts all their life. By making them think about what more can you do, you make them into thought leaders. It's that simple a process. So that's how we've included around 155 lessons. And now, because a lot of people have liked the thoughts, we're expanding it into a full-fledged parenting book. And we're doing the first session with Mom's Presso next week. I'll send you the link for that. So
And I
that's what.
think I remember reading your first book, which you had gifted to me. And
Yes, yeah,
the best thing about it was all about ordinary people,
absolutely, absolutely,
just going out and making a difference. And
absolutely.
there's so much power in that. And it all stems from empathy. I think entrepreneurship or innovation has to stem from empathy. Any change
Right.
that you bring about has to be first, you need to step into other people's shoes to know
Absolutely,
what they feel.
absolutely,
And only then you can
absolutely,
make a difference. Yes.
absolutely. And I completely love the way the Bhagavad Gita describes that, where it says empathy, consciousness, character is about the understanding the pain and suffering of others without it happening to you, right? Which means that we should feel the pain which a person is feeling somewhere in Syria, because that kid could be my kid tomorrow. And most of us live with such apathy that we don't feel any of this. And then we are passing on those same traits to our children, right? Where they also turn out to be insensitive, because it's all about building a career and getting success at any cost. And I'm not saying don't succeed, but what is the cost? Is it win-win or is it win-lose? Which is, I think, what we need to teach children to think,
One
that
has
are
to
you being
define success for each person. And I think success
absolutely.
is different, each
Yeah, because
child.
success does not mean that treading on somebody else's shoes, which you see in the corporate sector, which is so rampant today. And I always tell them that it's because of parents like you and your parents that people like me are employed as coaches today, because we are teaching you the same simple life lessons which your parents should have taught you. In my first book, in Karma Kari, I always say this to parents, because there's a story of a man called Sailesh Mishra, and the title of the story is "Son to a Million Parents." And I've spoken to several of the old parents who Silesh takes care of. And while I feel sympathy for them that their children don't have time for them anymore because they've not seen them for 3 years or 5 years, before I conclude the call or the chat with them, I always ask them, whose fault is it that your daughter or your son turned out this way? Who is to blame? And after some thought, they give me the answer, and it comes to them: I am. Because you taught your child to be a career mule, a career climber, a consumer, but you didn't teach your child to be a change champion. You didn't teach your child to be a good human being. And now it's come back to you. It's called the law of karma. That's why I have tried to explain this word karma also, because a lot of people think it's destiny, like Krishna has created my destiny, or some God has created your destiny. No, God or Krishna does not create your destiny. You create your own destiny. And I think we need to teach children that you create your own destiny. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your destiny. Not some God, not some faith, not some religion, not the education, not the degree. You have to recreate yourself after the degree. The degree is good, it has its place, but it's not going to take you to the journey of life. And that's exactly what we're doing with Mills. We're saying, now forget about it. Okay, you pass with flying colors, don't worry. You're not getting a job, don't worry. Think, how can you recreate yourself as a missionary pastor, like everybody who you're listening to? Because we've taken great care to put those 100 videos together, where we are having a learning chat with each of these missionary passiopreneurs from around the world. People like William Kamkwamba, people like Melanie, who we spoke to today, or people like people who have gone through all adversity and yet kind of broken through. And we are, and now what we are noticing is that even parents want to attend, because a lot of parents have lost their jobs. So at the age of 40 or 50, you're surely not getting a job again, so which means you have to reinvent yourself altogether now. So it's probably a good time, because it's not gloom and doom, it's a golden opportunity for everybody to reinvent themselves.
I think
And what we have done,
the VUCA world that
yeah,
we have been talking about needs to change from volatility to vision, from uncertainty to understanding, from complexity to,
Absolutely.
I think, compassion, and from
Absolutely.
that, I forget what was
Ambiguity.
A is for,
Ambiguity.
Ambiguity,
ambiguity
ambiguity.
to agility. Yes. From
Absolutely, absolutely. And
agility.
and
That,
and and
that's the
and,
new
tha-
blue
and
collar
that's the
generation.
real. Yeah. And you know what we've seen is a lot of these people who teach values in schools, colleges, and corporates, because they don't have real stories and they don't have the content, they end up, telling stories of leadership and how to be a missionary passiopronia. Well, that's a word, of course, we've created, but how to be somebody who really unleashes your potential, with stories about an eagle who breaks his claws and breaks his beak, or some other kind of fantasy tales, which are all complete bunkum. What we've done is, these are stories of real people,
Yeah.
and we have the content firsthand. We've met them, we've spoken to them, we know that these people have that huge potential, and if they have it, what stops you? And that's what research has shown, that when you tell stories of ordinary people who've done extraordinary, people can relate to them, that if they can do it, so can we. But when you overwhelm them with stories of Mukesh Ambani, first of all, I don't even find Mukesh Ambani to be a leadership story, right? I mean, anyone can con people and make a lot of
Think
money,
we've
right? So
got our own leader at Shiv Nader School as Mr. Nader, who's grown from very humble backgrounds.
right.
And
So,
children love to hear stories about him. They love to
yeah,
converse with him because they can relate to his childhood. He was from
right,
a very, very middle class family. And through sheer
right.
grit and hard work, he says he needed to be combative to be who he is today. He really had to say, learn from his
Right.
mistakes. He made a lot of
And
mistakes.
and that's what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely. We are, and the what we are doing is, we are creating a mix of people. Like I always say, it's not about creating an empire or an enterprise. It's about creating eternity. So ask yourself, what is it that you need to find within yourself to create eternity, which means something which lives on beyond me and tens of my generations tomorrow. So that's what we are doing. We are taking this out to, and we are launching this in January, a soft launch on 26th of November, since we celebrate that as a National Social Action and Citizen, sorry, Social Justice and Citizen Action Day. So that's where we are, and we'll come back to your school with this. I know
Yeah,
we've
we'll
spoken
reach
to you
out to
long
your
back, but
school.
we didn't want to
Wonderful.
start doing the
I think it'll be
rolling
great.
out
The
the
more the
process in
merrier.
schools. Yeah,
And I think students would also find this as a platform of collaboration with each other
Absolutely.
and
So
collaboration with the community. Definitely.
we'll
absolutely.
reach out to you for the 11th and the 12th.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Sure.
And thank you so much. I like the way you kind of twisted that entire VUCA model on its
Buka.
head. So
Yes.
thank you so much, and have a great evening. Always a pleasure speaking with you and learning with
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
Namaste
Absolutely.
and all the best, ma'am. Thank you.
all the
Namaste.
best to you. Stay safe.
Is
Stay
is,
happy.
Col- is Colonel Gopal still with you all?
Yes, yes, of course. I
Okay,
mean,
okay,
we are all, he motivates, he's the, I would say, the power which motivates all of us. You know,
right,
he's
right.
still with us. Yes.
We
Very
will
good.
keep in touch. We're going to send you the Mills program, Monica ji.
So I don't know if I told you
Thank you.
about this.
Thank you.
Gopal. I first met Gopal ji in
Thank you.
2008,
Okay.
and it was in a forum at MDI, and Gopalji had the task of moderating a session
Okay.
where on one side he had Arvind Kejriwal, and on the other
Mhm.
side he had me, and he was the moderator stuck in between. And Arvind Kejriwal went first to speak, and he spoke about how he has created RTI, and
Mhm.
how we should all be favorable of the Congress party because they're doing good work. And
And
then I
you
went to
must have taken that as
and
a
the,
challenge, I'm sure.
no and then I went to speak, and I was like, I'm a little confused now, because as far as I remember, RTI was fought for and created by a good friend of mine whose name is Aruna Roy.
Mhm.
But here we have a man who says he's created RTI. So that challenges me. And he's been calling the most corrupt party of the country, Congress, as a go-to party. And I understand why he's doing that. He's doing that because he seeks a seat in the NAC, which is the National
I
Advisory
wouldn't
Council.
like to comment on anything political. Jerry.
No. You don't need to. I'm just telling you. And Gopalji was stuck right there, and he was like,
Are
okay,
we, I mean, are we
and
continuing or now have we gone off?
no. So
We are still
that's what I
on.
was just telling you about how we met Gopal,
It's
how I
live.
first met Gopalji,
No,
and
because
then of
Colonel
course,
Gopal, I think he's the reason why all of us, all the schools, it's his vision, and Mr. Nader and the trustees' vision, Shikhar Malhotra and Roshni, how he has helped us
right,
create that vision and make
right,
schools the way they are.
right.
Yes, we are
No,
new kids on the
absolutely.
block, but
No,
we've got grand
Gopalji is,
dreams, and
yeah,
we are rooted.
Gopalji is great. So yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So all the best, ma'am, and thank you.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
evening. Say
much.
bye
It's
bye.
been a pleasure. And
Bye
I'll
bye.
wait to hear from you. Definitely.
Yeah, we will send it
Surely,
across.
surely,
All right.
surely. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
It's been a
Take care.
pleasure, Itu. And
Absolute pleasure is
lovely
ours.
to speak to a fellow educator. Bye-bye. Good night.
So much to learn from all of you.
Good night, ma'am. Good night.
We're all learning from
Good
each
night.
other. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night, ma'am. Good night. See you. Bye bye.
It's over.